Huskies lose 69 to 58 to UCLA. They fall to 6-2 on the season and 0-1 in the Big 10 conference. My name's Chris Crawford. Thanks so much for joining us. Bummer. It would have been really fun to win the first ever Big 10 basketball game for the Washington Huskies. I didn't have high expectations for this game, and it kind of played out the way I kind of thought. But there were some good moments. There's a lot of bad moments, but there were some good moments. Before we get into that, thank you, Simply Seattle, the very best in Seattle sports stuff. Great stuff for the Huskies, of course, but your Mariners, your Seahawks, your Kraken, your Sounders, your Supersonics, you can find it all at simplyseattle.com and use code MOLLYWOP15 to save 15% off your order. MOLLYWHOP15. Doesn't matter what team you're buying for, it will take 15% off your order. Awesome deal from an awesome local business. Thank you so much, simplyseattle.com, and link in the description to make it nice and easy for you. So like I said, I did not have high expectations for this game. I was very, very concerned I was going to be talking about a blowout. And look, they lose by 11 points. It was, at the end of it, not a contested game. I wouldn't even call it close to a contested game. But I really thought they were going to get blown out. I thought they were going to get shellacked. And it wouldn't have been necessarily a bad thing for them to get shellacked. But let's start with the positives, because that's what we do. When the Huskies lose, we start with the positives and then build to the negatives, vice versa for when they win. And hopefully they get a win in the Big Ten very soon. I actually think they played a pretty solid game defensively. UCLA is a very talented basketball team. And I really liked Sprinkle's game plan of, giving them the open mid-range shot. Now, the announcing team, which was not my favorite, I'm not going to individually call anybody out, but that was not my favorite game to listen to, pointed out that a few of those players, like Dylan Andrews, their strength is the mid-range game. It's not an efficient shot. I think that giving them that shot was the right decision. I thought they did a nice job on rotations. I thought that they shoot 8 for 21 from 3, which is solid, not spectacular, but solid. But I thought most of those were generated off either really good offensive plays or they made contested looks. I thought that the defense was really good. In particular, I think Tyler Harris, who the shots don't fall again. That's back-to-back games. That's not surprising after you go 5 for 8 from 3 that you have a couple of clunkers. The threes don't fall. But I do think that Tyler Harris played a really good game. Grabs 11 rebounds, scores 12 points, gets that first assist, a couple of steals. He's a really good basketball player. Really good basketball player. Zoom Diallo, for a freshman playing in Pauley Pavilion for the first time, first Big Ten conference game. You look at 3 for 9. I don't think that's indicative of how he played. I was very impressed with Zoom Diallo. Grabs the 7 boards, gets the 3 assists, doesn't turn the basketball over. For a guy who's taking care of the ball a little bit. He's not running point, but he is initiating offense and handling the ball quite a bit. Running point sometimes too. I don't know why I was so quick to dismiss that. He, to me, was the second best player behind Tyler Harris. Are there any other positives here? Oh, yeah, actually. So, like I said, I thought they were going to get shellacked. I thought they were going to get blown out. It was a 2-point game with let me look it up so I don't sound like a complete idiot. 11:03 left. With 11:03 left in this game, Makai Mason makes a 3-pointer, and it's 45-43. It's a game. And that's 3/4 of the game that you are more than in this. Now, here's the thing. I do believe, and we can just get into the negatives now, one of the reasons that they're in this game is because UCLA didn't play very well. And I think if UCLA is playing at their absolute best, the Huskies probably get shellacked. In part because the Huskies didn't play very well either. Now, again, in the game, but there were just a couple of 10-minute spurts where they were a very bad basketball team. It's, I believe, 13-11, something like that. And then for the next, and it wasn't 10 minutes this time, it was the next 6 or 7 minutes, they just played anemic basketball. The type of basketball that if they play all year, they're going to go like 4-14 in the conference. It can't happen. It just can't happen. And you know what? Going back to the positives here, and it's a positive and a negative, they generated some good looks against a very good defensive team. Mick Cronin defensive teams are always going to be good. Um, they did nothing with those looks. Nothing. 3 of 16 from 3, and there were some wide open looks. Harris got some wide open looks. Makai Mason, who did make that 1-3, and actually I think played okay. Did nothing with those looks. DJ Davis did nothing with those looks. Luis Courtwright, who it was only 5 minutes. It was a rough 5 minutes. Wow. Feel bad for him. But it was bad. It was a bad 5 minutes. And while I think they played pretty well defensively, there were some times where there were a little too easy of looks in the inside of the paint, where getting the ball inside, they didn't do a great job defending that. I don't know why I couldn't think of that term. Maybe it's because it's 6:33 in the morning and I have a migraine that, yeah, life is a lot of fun right now. And this is going to be a shorter video, as you could probably guess. Great Osobor. I've waxed poetically about you, my friend, and I still think you're one of the best players in college basketball. This was not a great game. Now, if you take a look at just the stat line, 14 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, solid. That was not how Great Osobor played. Now, it's ultimately what he produced. But if you're just going off that line, if you want to look at a line, here's how Great Osobor, in my opinion, and maybe I just have incredibly high expectations. 4 of 11 from the field, 6 of 11 from free throw, and most importantly, 8 turnovers. That's 2/3 of the turnovers the Huskies had. I really thought the guards were going to struggle with turning the ball over in this one. No, that wasn't the case. It was that Great Osobor made some silly passes, and UCLA made some plays too. That for those who missed it, they have the deflect bone, I think is what it's called, where whoever has the most deflections at the end of the year gets to keep it as a trophy. That's cute. That's cool. Some of those guys are going to look back at tonight and say, "Oh, that really helped." He's got to be better. He's got to start finishing some of these looks. He's got to be better from the free throw line. He still made some nice passes. I do feel bad for him. I have a feeling that attempted dunk on the alley-oop, look for it. It's really bad. It's really bad because he didn't come anywhere close. He's got to be better. And yet, here's the thing, too. So he plays 37 minutes tonight. Those 3 minutes where he's not in the game were when the Huskies offense looked their absolute worst. They just don't. There's so much standing around and so few guys are actually getting open too. It's a bad look. It's a bad look because, and that's a tough one when your very best player is struggling, but when your very best player is out of the game, and he wasn't out of the game very much. Yeah, this really could have been ugly. And ultimately, going back to end on a positive, the fact that it wasn't, I think, is a good sign. It shows a team that played hard. I don't think that you could question their effort at all in any of these games. I think the effort has been solid, and I think you have to give a ton of credit there to Danny Sprinkle. So that's nice. But it is frustrating because, to end it on a negative, if you play decently tonight, you got that chance to get that win. Actually, finally, kind of. Uh, the fact this is a Big Ten game is just the weirdest thing. I'm losing my voice. I, I I get what happened. I've talked, on chats a whole bunch about how I'm glad the Huskies got off a sinking boat, but boy, do I hate that that boat sunk. Boy, do I hate it. So you're 0-1 in conference. You get your first conference home game against USC on Saturday. Um, Winnable, winnable. I don't think USC is a great basketball team. Um, they're not off to a very good start. But if they play like they did tonight, if I'm just being completely honest, everything is losable. Everything is losable, particularly on offense. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I'm sorry my voice sounds a little raspy at early morning and I forgot to get my drink. I don't drink coffee, by the way. I'm glad I don't. It would be another vice that I just do not need to add to my life, but I do drink a lot of water and I should have drank some water before this one, I guess. But please hit like, please hit subscribe. Give me your thoughts. If you watched the game, what'd you think? And yeah, I'll do my best too to start posting these after the game ends. It's a little harder because of how late these games start. But like Saturday should be fine. Wednesday against Washington State, I'll definitely do a live one. Or not a live one, but right after. Go Huskies. Great. You got to be great. It's not your fault that, well, it's a little bit your fault if you're so good. But I have high expectations and they were not met tonight.